In 1922, a sealed door was opened in the Valley of the Kings, and for the first time in 3,000 years, the gods of ancient Egypt looked upon the world again. Tutankhamun's tomb is often called the greatest archaeological discovery in history. But behind the gold mask, treasures, and mummified body lies something far older, the mythology of Egypt itself. Every symbol, every statue, every painting inside his tomb was created to guide a young pharaoh through the dangerous underworld and turn him into a god. 1. The world of a pharaoh. To the ancient Egyptians, a pharaoh was not just a king. He was the living son of Ra, the sun god. And when he died, he was reborn as Osiris, ruler of the afterlife. This belief shaped everything buried inside Tutankhamun's tomb. 2. The first chamber, Anubis and protection. When Howard Carter first peered inside the tomb, he saw guardians, statues of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification. Anubis was believed to protect the body from evil spirits and guide the soul safely through the night. 3. The golden mask, Horus and Osiris combined. Tutankhamun's famous golden mask is more than a masterpiece. The stripes on the headdress belong to Horus, the falcon god. The long beard represents Osiris. Together they declare, "The king lives again as a god." 4. Tomb walls, the Book of the Dead. Painted on the walls are spells from the Book of the Dead, a collection of magical texts showing Tut's journey through the underworld. He must face fire serpents, shadow demons, and the weighing of the heart before reaching eternal life. So let's step chamber by chamber into Tutankhamun's tomb, and explore how each object brings Egyptian mythology to life. Chapter 1. Entering the Tomb. Our journey begins at the entrance of Tutankhamun's tomb, deep in the Valley of the Kings. For over 3,000 years, this doorway was sealed, untouched, undisturbed, forgotten by time. When the archaeologist Howard Carter first discovered it in 1922, he saw strange markings and protective symbols carved into the plaster, warnings to any who dared enter. But to the ancient Egyptians, these were not threats, they were spells of protection. Chamber 1. The Antechamber. As we step inside the antechamber, the first room of Tutankhamun's tomb, we find a world frozen in time. Chariots, golden beds, bows, shields, and statues lie exactly as they were placed 3,300 years ago. To the ancient Egyptians, these were not simple objects, they were magical tools. Chariots carried the king's soul across the sky with Ra. Golden beds allowed him to rest under the protection of Hathor. Hathor is the Egyptian goddess of love, beauty, music, and motherhood. She protected the pharaoh in both life and death, guiding his soul gently into the afterlife. Her symbols inside Tutankhamun's tomb show her role as a divine guardian. Every object had a divine purpose, preparing the young pharaoh for the challenges of the afterlife. Chamber 2. The Burial Chamber. We now enter the most sacred room of all, the burial chamber. Here, Tutankhamun's sarcophagus rests at the center, surrounded by golden shrines and walls covered in divine scenes. A sarcophagus is a stone coffin, usually decorated with carvings, symbols, or paintings, used in ancient times for important people like kings, queens, and nobles. This room was designed to transform the young pharaoh from a mortal king into a god. Every painting, every color, every symbol tells a story from Egyptian mythology. Explaining the wall paintings. 1. Tutankhamun greeted by Osiris. On one wall, we see Tutankhamun standing before Osiris, the god of the afterlife. This moment symbolizes the king's rebirth as an eternal spirit. 2. Anubis preparing him for the afterlife. Another scene shows Anubis, the jackal-headed god, performing rituals to protect the body and guide the soul safely. 3. Nut, goddess of the sky. Above him is Nut, the sky goddess, stretching her arms out to welcome the young king into the heavens. 4. The Golden Shrines. Around the sarcophagus were 4 massive golden shrines, like layers of protection. These shrines represent the womb of the goddess, inside which Tutankhamun is reborn. Chamber 3. The Treasury. We now step into the Treasury, the chamber of guardians and divine protection. If the burial chamber was the heart of the tomb, this room is its soul. Here, every object had a sacred purpose in guiding Tutankhamun through the underworld. Main mythological elements in the Treasury. 1. The Anubis Shrine. The first thing we see is a black statue of Anubis resting like a vigilant guardian. Anubis, god of mummification, protects the king from evil forces and watches over the passage into the afterlife. 2. The Canopic Shrine. Inside this shrine were the jars that held Tutankhamun's organs, and around it stood 4 powerful goddesses: Isis, Nephthys, Neith, Selkit. These 4 protective goddesses surround the shrine like a divine shield, each extending her arms to guard the pharaoh's essence. 3. Magical statues. Around the room stand dozens of statues, miniature guardians meant to come alive in the afterlife and serve the king. 4. The Golden Boat of Ra. Some objects represent the solar boat that carries the sun god Ra through the sky and the underworld. These items symbolize the journey of the sun, which Tutankhamun's soul would follow to achieve eternal rebirth. Chamber 4. The Annex. Our final stop is the Annex, the smallest and most packed room of the tomb. At first glance, it looks messy. Jars, baskets, boxes, food, oils, and tools piled on top of each other. But to the ancient Egyptians, nothing here was random. Every object was chosen carefully to help Tutankhamun live comfortably in the afterlife. What this room represents. 1. Food for the afterlife. The jars stored wine, oils, and food. The Egyptians believed the soul needed nourishment on its long journey through the underworld. 2. Medicines and perfumes. Perfume jars and ointments were placed to heal and protect the king's spirit during his rebirth. 3. Everyday tools. There were bows, arrows, bags, and household items so that the king would have everything he needed, just as he did in life. 4. Magical figurines. Small figurines known as Shabtis were buried here. These were magical servants that would come alive and work for the king in the afterlife. Shabtis were tiny magical servants buried with the pharaoh. Egyptians believed these figures would come alive in the afterlife and do all the king's work for him. Symbolic meaning of the Annex. This room shows that the Egyptians did not see death as an end. They saw it as a new life, where the king continued to eat, travel, rest, and rule. The Annex was the pharaoh's backpack for eternity. We have walked through every chamber of Tutankhamun's tomb, from the cluttered antechamber to the sacred burial room, from the vigilant Anubis Shrine to the crowded Annex of eternal supplies. But what truly makes this tomb extraordinary is not the gold, the treasures, or the artifacts. It is the mythology woven into every corner. To the ancient Egyptians, death was not the end. It was a gateway, a journey through darkness, guarded by gods, protected by magic, and filled with eternal hope. And in Tutankhamun's tomb, we see that belief come alive. Every statue, every painting, every object existed to help a young king rise again as a god. More than 3,000 years after his burial, the magic of ancient Egypt still speaks to us. It reminds us that even the smallest artifact can hold the power of a myth, and that behind history, mythology is always waiting to be discovered. This was Tutankhamun's journey. A journey through tombs, gods, symbols, and the promise of eternal life. And now, it is a story we continue to explore. Thank you for joining me as we uncovered the mythology inside Tutankhamun's tomb. If you want more ancient stories, legends, and mysteries, the adventure continues in the next video.